I was a very strange child. I would dream things before they happened. But here's the thing. I love sharing the messages, but my purpose is to teach people how to do what I do. It's not like, oh, Karen, no, we can do this. We all can do this. We just have to learn how to do it. We all can connect with our loved ones and the angels. We just have to learn how to do it. We have to raise our vibration. We have to ask for signs from them. We have to ask them to come to us in a dream and to wake us up after the dream so we can remember them. They'll speak to us telepathically. So we have to learn how to pay attention to the thoughts that just pop in your head for no reason.
I know people get frustrated sometimes when they cannot seem to connect with their loved ones. They're not getting them in the dream. They're not getting the signs and synchronicities like we're talking about with music and electronics and animal messengers. And they feel slighted. They feel less than. They feel sad and depressed about that. What do you tell people who are going through that part?
Oftentimes that happens when somebody is
Goes to heaven.
We all do.
My guest today is Karen Noe, who had a spiritually transformative experience and then was able to channel passed away loved ones. And one of the very famous people that she has channeled is Wayne Dyer. She did that for 3 years for his family. So this is going to be a very interesting conversation because we uncovered that we both have had a similar experience with the We Collective. So Karen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
This is going to be a great conversation. And I know that everybody who has had a spiritual journey has heard of Wayne Dyer, and we will save that for a little bit later because I would like to understand how you came in with all of this. But before I have you talk about your spiritually transformative experience, did you come in awake? Did you see spirits when you were young?
Yeah, I was a very strange child. Yes, I did. I would dream things before they happened.
So give me an
Deceased loved
example.
ones. Okay, my cousin, I just went off my cousin Laura, when I was about, I don't know how old I was, she was not sick or anything, but I dreamt that her house was on fire. And I didn't know what to do with it. It just felt wrong. And I actually called her and I said, oh, make sure you don't have any paper around and all of that. And what happened maybe a month or two later, she found out that she had cancer. And that was her house is the body. That's not who we really are, the house and all of that. And I've since learned I've dreamt things before they happened. My father used to take me to the racetrack and I'd pick the winning horses for him. But I'm an animal activist now. I don't go to the track after absolutely not. But during that time, he would, I was a little girl and he'd take me to the track and I'd pick the winning horses. Dream things before they happened. My friends used to say that I freaked them out because I would know things before they happened and so forth. But then I had a spiritual experience which changed everything.
Well, why don't you tell your spiritual experience in any way you'd like to share it?
Sure. So I was about 25 years ago, I was going through a very difficult time in my life. And I sat at the edge of my bed and I just yelled at God. And I said, am I going to be okay? And with that, I saw a light that came towards me from the other side of the room. And as I was watching this light, my first thought was, if you're not of God, please leave, because I didn't know what I conjured up. But, 25 years later, I realized we're all of God, but at that time, what I meant, if you're not of love and light and so forth. But when I said that, it continued to come towards me and eventually enveloped me. And at that time, I heard an audible voice that said, Lucia Lucina, Bella Lucia Lucina. I don't know if there are any Italians that are listening, but it means light, beautiful little light. And I've since learned it was St. Francis of Assisi, who's been guiding and protecting me ever since. And right after that, I started receiving messages from angels and deceased loved ones. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want people to think I was not in my right mind. But the more I shared the messages, the more they meant things, and it really helped people. Eventually, I went into a business, and I've been booked 2 years ahead of time for 25 years. And now I'm on hiatus because I can't do it anymore. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year, let alone tomorrow. But
curious, why can't you do it anymore? Or you've just chosen to take a break from it?
Yeah, I've chosen to take a break for a number of reasons. Can you imagine being booked 2 years ahead of time? You don't know, and I can't do anything in those days. If something happens, things happen. I have 6 grandchildren now, but even more so is that I feel at this particular time I have to increase the love on the planet. It's really needed at this particular time. And if we share the messages from Wayne Dyer, you'll see a lot of these messages are to spread the love that you are. It's really very important at this time and always, but more at this time.
Absolutely. Well, I end every single one of my conversations with thanking my guests for what they're doing to wake up the collective consciousness. And of course, that's just a reflection of the love that we are.
Exactly. Right.
So I'm curious, you have this spiritually transformative experience. How old are you when that happened?
25 years ago. So let's figure that out. I
Oh, you
am,
don't have to say that. Okay, 25 years
yeah,
ago. It's 2025 right now.
I'm a
So you
grandma.
have this experience and you come out of that experience. And what is the first thing that happens that makes you think to yourself, oh, something is very different than it was
Uh,
before?
everything changed. I became a vegan. At first, I became a vegetarian, and then I became a vegan after that because I felt the pain of the animals. Um, Unfortunately, I got divorced after that. I love my ex-husband very much, but we have different values after that. It's almost like I'm a different person. In many ways, I am. Um, Started hearing messages from deceased loved ones and angels and so forth, and my whole purpose here on earth changed.
Well, one of the things that I appreciate so much about a medium, and especially a really good one, is that they're not giving you generalized information. They're giving you something very specific that feels evidential to
Of
you,
course.
something that they could not have known. So,
Yeah,
this is early on for you. You come out, you have this ability.
yeah.
What was one of the early evidential pieces of information that just blew your mind?
I could give you a number of them.
Go ahead. I love it.
Yeah, right. So I decided to do Reiki right after that, and just Reiki in the back of a hair salon. I had
Well, explain to people who don't know what Reiki is.
oh, Reiki is energy healing that helps heal the mind, body, and spirit. So when I was doing this is just in the beginning. I'm doing Reiki on a person. I don't know which one to share, but message came through. I saw Aunt Jemima. Remember Aunt Jemima, the pancakes? So somebody was coming through named Alice, and she shows me Aunt Jemima. And I thought for sure, I just started doing this at that time. That can't mean anything. That can't mean anything. And I said, listen, I'm just learning how to do this. Somebody named Alice coming through with Aunt Jemima. And she screams and she said, my friend Alice passed away. And there really was an Aunt Jemima. She was in a Catholic school. Aunt Jemima came in a helicopter when she was with her friend Alice and made pancakes. And they always talked about Aunt Jemima together. I'll share another one. These are the crazy things. I said, I guess I'm really getting the messages. There was another one. I'm doing Reiki on somebody, and I see a kangaroo with boxing gloves punching the air. And I always started off by saying, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm just going to share this with you. Somebody's coming through named Robert. He died in a car accident, but he showed me a kangaroo with boxing gloves. Meanwhile, I'm in the United States. We don't have kangaroos with boxing gloves. And again, and she screamed and she said, that's my friend Robert. He died in a car accident and he boxed kangaroos in Australia. So then I said, okay, I guess I'm really getting these messages. But here's the thing. I love sharing the messages, but my purpose is to teach people how to do what I do. It's not like, oh, Karen Noe can do this. We all can do this. We just have to learn how to do it. You know, everybody could play the piano if they have their fingers. You know, some people could play scales and others could play great masterpieces, but we all can connect with our loved ones and the angels. We just have to learn how to do it. We have to raise our vibration. We could talk about that to be more on par with the energy of who they are. We have to ask for signs from them. And I could talk about that if you want me to. We have to ask them to come to us in a dream and to wake us up after the dream so we could remember them. And I'll tell you about the different types of dreams. Some of them are dreams from our subconscious, and others are real dreams from our loved ones as well as the angels. We also have to understand that many times, since they're not in a physical body, they may not come through as an audible voice or as an apparition because they don't have a physical body. They'll speak to us telepathically. So we have to learn how to pay attention to the thoughts that just pop in your head for no reason. You know, it's not, if you're thinking about your loved one, backtrack your thoughts. Okay. So if it just popped in your head for no reason, chances are it's your loved one trying to talk to you. But if you just saw a picture of your mom, which triggered a thought and triggered another thought, it's you. And when you learn how to do this, my clients and friends are so excited to understand they're really getting messages from their loved ones. They are getting the signs. They are getting the dreams from their loved ones. They are getting the thoughts that pop into their heads for no reason. And that's the best part. It's not just me. It's everyone listening to this podcast.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation today,
Me too.
Karen, because when I first started my channel, I created this series of videos, and one of them was all about signs and synchronicities from my past loved one who speaks to me all the time. And it was for a very long time the number one most popular video on my channel. It's still probably in the top 10. So signs are definitely a topic that people tune in and they want to know more. And I think it's also a catalyst for why people want to listen to near-death experiences. They've had a loss and now they're searching for somebody. So let's start at the beginning. You said that everybody can do this. And you
Yes.
first talked about raising your vibration, which I completely agree with. And I would love to hear your take on what you mean by that and what people can do to help raise their own vibration.
Absolutely. So, in order to connect with angels and deceased loved ones, we have to be more on par with the energy of who they are, which is only love, only peace. And it's, those who've had near death experiences, they feel this peace and love immediately, in an instant. They are love, they are peace. So, in order to connect with them, it's like almost like a radio signal. You have to, if you tune into 1300 AM, you won't get 3200 FM. So, you have to be more on par with their energy. So, a number of things you could do. The most important is forgiveness, because I've heard time and time again, people don't want to forgive, surely what this person did to me, I don't want to forgive them. And I said, you could do whatever you want, but it hurts you. It's not the snake bite that kills you, it's the venom that's left behind, right? So, forgive, see through the eyes of others. After we leave this physical body, we go through that life review where we're able to see and feel how we've affected others through their eyes as if we are them. And in reality, you know what I'm going to say? We are them. We're one. We are one. So why do we have to wait to see through the eyes of others after we leave the physical body? Why don't we do it right here and now? Try to see why others do what they do. Try to understand how we're affecting them. Forgive those who hurt us. Ask for forgiveness for those that we hurt. Treat ourselves with the respect that we deserve because we're just as important as everybody else, right? Tell our loved ones how much they mean to us now before it's too late. Why do we have to wait to go through that life review, to go through this, right? There's so many things I could talk about, but that would take up the whole podcast. But those are a number of things that we could do to be more on par with the energy of who we really are, which is love and light. Meditate, eat with compassion, those types of things.
Beautiful. Okay, so then the next one is asking for signs. And I'm a big proponent of this. I feel like my life is just a
Oh, yeah.
series of signs and synchronicities. That's all that happens every single day. There's not a day
Yeah.
that I don't have a sign or synchronicity.
Yes. I have a list of how to, which,
Okay,
they're, well, the signs, they come to us in dreams, and we could talk about that later. That's whole different things. They come as an animal sometimes. They use their energy to go inside of a bird, a ladybug, a dragonfly, a butterfly to let us know that they're with us. And the animal will do something that it normally wouldn't do. It's not any bird in the sky. The animal does something it normally wouldn't do, such as peck at your window, land on you, and so forth. If I may, I'd like to share some signs that I received that with an animal, and then we could go on to other types of signs.
sure.
And by the way, our loved ones retain the same personality as they had when they were here in the physical body when they come through. I think that is to let us know that it's really them, right? So, of course, they evolve and they grow, but they come through to us the way they were. So, if they were loud, they're still loud. If they were quiet, they're still quiet. If they crack jokes, they still crack jokes when they come through. My friend Marion, um, she was very loud and she was a practical joker. So after she passed, and I would tell our listeners to do what I did after she passed. And I know it sounds crazy, but I wrote Marion a letter and I said, Marion, I love you so much. You, blah, 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 everything I loved about her. And at the end of the letter, I said, Marion, give me a without a doubt sign. I call it without a doubt sign to let me know that you are aware of what I just wrote to you. So the next day I had bills I was going to put in my mailbox and I walked down the stairs. And as I'm walking down the stairs, there's a bird screaming at the top of its lungs in my driveway, looking at me. A little bird, but screaming. Like, what is this? Screaming. And I'm looking at it and I said, Marion, is that you? And I walked to the mailbox. And as I'm walking to the mailbox, the bird flew to the mailbox. Birds don't fly towards us, they usually fly away from us. So it's on the mailbox. I'm putting the letters, the bills in the mailbox, and I'm looking at the bird. I said, oh my God, Marion, I love you so much. And the bird's screaming, what? And just screaming at me. And I said, I love you so much. I turn around, my neighbor's looking at me like I've lost my mind. But I continued to talk to Marion, and I had my cell phone in my pocket. And I called my son. I said, come out. I said, Tim, come outside. Marion's here. And he's so used to me. And he witnessed the whole thing. But it doesn't end here, and it continues. Many years. But the next day I saw on Facebook that a mutual friend of Marion and myself had an experience with a bird, and she knew it was Marion. So she said she was painting her kitchen. She opened the door to the sliding glass door to the kitchen. A bird flew in, pooped all over her walls, and then flew out. And she said, thanks, Marion. So this is typical Marion fashion. My mother wouldn't do something like this, but Marion would. And she continuously did this a number of years to me and my friend Carol. Just one, just one message with animals.
Karen,
Okay.
I'm so glad you shared that because I want people who are listening to understand that they have to feel in their heart if it feels real. Because when they share these with other people, it always sounds off if somebody hasn't experienced it themselves, and people will brush it off or say things because they don't know what to say. So I'm really glad that you're not just sharing this, but also a detailed story and relating it back, because it's all about the person and the personality and how it would feel to you to validate, right?
Absolutely. And she didn't stop there, Marion, because she was so loud. But as I'm saying, if you were loud when you were here, you're still loud. That's the way they're coming through. I think it's to let the living loved ones know it's truly them. If they were whispering, that's not who they were, right? Of course, they're more evolved now and everything, but um, a few years later, this is funny. So my clients are coming to me and there's a waiting room and there's a bird slamming its head on the window, And I didn't, this happens and I'm looking at it. She goes, Karen, there's a bird slamming his head on the window. I said, oh my gosh. So I opened the window trying to get the bird to come inside. I said, sweetheart, I don't want you to get hurt. I'm very upset the bird's going to get hurt. Went outside. It wouldn't leave. It kept doing that. Next day, same friend, Carol, posts on Facebook, there's a bird slamming its head on the window. And I'm like, okay, Marion, what is the common denominator here? And it's like day after day, each other. So I called a family friend and she said, oh my God, Karen, Marion's son is going to be in a destination wedding this weekend coming up. And they're going to be spreading her ashes. I guess she's just trying to let everybody know she's aware of this. So They told the family, and as soon as that happened, this was going on for 3 days until this person told the family, and as soon as the person told the family, the birds stopped. So you'll see, it doesn't have to be this drastic, by the way, these signs. This was just Marian fashion, right? So if your loved one was quiet, you'll get the subtle signs, you'll get the feathers, the coins, something that keeps coming into your path, right? The music that comes on at the perfect time when you're thinking about them, their favorite song, your favorite song, the words you need to hear. It's your loved one's birthday, and the lights start to flicker when you talk about them, or you're going through a difficult time, and the garage door opens and closes. They play with electricity. They come with their fragrance, something that, their perfume or cigar or whatever it is, and these types of things. And the list could go on and on. But when I say it's without a doubt sign, it's not just any bird in the sky. It's not just your light bulb went out and you have to get a new one. It's when you're talking about them, these types of things. Something I call it without a doubt. And I'm sure our listeners have had these types of signs, so
Yeah.
and the more you,
Can I share one that's a
please,
without a
yes,
doubt?
yes, I
Okay,
love.
this is probably my favorite sign that ever happened with my passed away loved one.
Okay,
So he was a musician, and I had gone to the first concert after he died. And I was talking to him after the concert, wondering, did you attend this with me? Would you have wanted to go to this with me? And I was not driving, somebody else was driving. And our car pulled up, and the license plate in front of me said Soulmate.
love
And
it.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this you? Is this you?" Like, signs are new for me at this point in time. I understood them, I believed in them, but they're new for me, and I hadn't talked to him for 3 years. So, there was also that doubting of whether he would have connected to me. Well, if it were me driving, I would have stayed behind that car as we got on the highway, but the car left. And a few minutes later, the Starship song, With Your Love, began playing. He was in the band Starship, and I looked up and the license plate was in front of me.
All right, I have goosebumps. Yes,
So
right.
for me, these things happen over and over again. This was
Yes.
in 2012 that this happened, right after he died. Fast forward 2018, my sister and I are driving to a concert, and we're talking, and I'm in Arizona. That happened in Illinois. And I'm driving, and my sister's read my book. She knows about it, all these stories. I do not know why I felt compelled to share this, but I start talking about that sign and how that happened. And I look up, and there is a license plate in Arizona that says Soul, SOL, Soul. One is
As you're telling your sister,
SOLM8 and SOL mate. What's that? Two
as
different
you were
signs.
telling your sister,
Yes, as I'm telling my sister, as I am telling my
that's
sister, in 2 different states, this happened multiple years apart. I have pictures of both license plates, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Like, I cannot make that up. And then, of course, like, I'm at the concert, and in the break of the concert, a Starship song plays. So this happens over and over and over again.
but this person was a loud person. So this person is continually, this is like Marion, right? So, and Wayne Dyer, also the license plate, cut me off right before his family came in to see me, and it said Dyer 1 on it.
Come on. Did
So,
you take a
yes,
picture of it?
I tried. Did you have, oh, I don't know how you did it because we were going fast. So,
I have hundreds of pictures of
oh
license
my
plate
God.
signs. They happen to me. It's crazy.
Oh boy. But yeah, we could go on and on. It's just so exciting. So I know knew he was going to come through. And sure enough, I mean, it was a period of 3 years, but the signs.
Well, let's talk. Okay, so first of all, for people who are not familiar with Wayne Dyer,
Okay.
let's talk a little bit about who this man was.
I think they called him the father of inspiration, and he had maybe 40, 50 books he wrote. And I was a huge fan of his. I did not know him personally. I was a fellow Hay House author. I went to his, we'd be speaking at some events at this, he'd be in the hotel. I didn't speak to him, but after he passed away, oh, so that's who he is. Amazing guy, Wayne Dyer, Dyer. After he passed, I felt like the world wasn't going to be the same because he just was a very big uplifter and made me feel good. I loved watching him more than reading his books.
Okay, so now how in the world do you get connected with this family to do readings to bring him through?
Okay, so what happened was I had his daughter, Serena Dyer. He has 8 children and a wife. I had her on my Angel Quest podcast a week before he passed away, um, to talk about her book, Don't Die with Your Music Still in You. It's a good book. And so I had her contact information. After Wayne passed, I didn't know what I could do for her, but I knew everything that I knew about the afterlife. I felt I should just tell her, to look for these signs, tell her to, all of these things that we're talking about. So I emailed her and I said, Serena, I'm so sorry, something like this. So sorry about the passing of your dad. Please know he truly is okay and would want you to be too. Ask him to come to you in a dream and to wake you up after the dream so you remember it. Ask him to give you, without a doubt, sign to let you know he's with you. And then be patient and wait. And the signs and the dreams will come when you least expect it. And then I said, I'd love to send you a copy of my book. At that time, my most recent book was Your Life After Their Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss. So I knew that was going to help her. It's everything I've learned after all of these years of doing mediumship. Within 5 minutes, I received an email back. She said she'd love a copy of my book. So I sent it to her, and that was it. Fast forward a month later, I was ready to speak at it's called an I Can Do It conference with Hay House. And I was going to be speaking about life after death. And they were going to hold a tribute to Dr. Dyer because he was a Hay House author a day before I was going to speak. So I came a day earlier. And they had a bus going from the hotel going to the conference center with the Hay House authors, including myself and Wayne Dyer's family. And I'm sitting on the bus, and there was one seat available and happened to be next to me. And in walked Serena Dyer. It's such a long story to share. Basically, that first time I talked to her was just telling her to ask for signs, do this. And she told me signs that her sister had, Sage. That was it. And then it started happening. Her sister, Sage, contacted me, and then they finally came in. Her sister, Sage, Serena, and Summer passed away, no. Serena, Sage, and Sky, as well as their mom, Marceline, Wayne Dyer's wife. And yes, they were still married. They made an appointment to come see me in New Jersey. They are from Florida, except Sage is from Manhattan, and they came. And as I was driving to the appointment, a car cut me off, and it said Dyer 1 on it. And he came through with messages like, wow, even I didn't know. And he came through as a singularly for his family for a period of 3 years and as a group consciousness called the We Guides. And when he came through as a group consciousness, it would be hard to differentiate him from everybody else because it's similar to Abraham. Have you ever heard Abraham Esther Hicks? It's similar to that. It's a group consciousness, and I was going to be channeling them 33 concepts for inner and outer peace to create a better world. So understand the basic premise is we are all one. Whatever we do to ourselves or another affects everyone. That's the basic message of what they were coming through. He wanted to raise the vibration of the planet because he foresaw what was going to be happening in our country and in the world.
So today you gave me a pretty special confirmation. Before we started this interview, we were talking and I was sharing some of my experiences with Karen about my journeys on the other side. And in one of them, it was intuited to me that the collective was called the We. I'd never heard anybody else use that term before. And then when Karen and I were talking, not only did Wayne Dyer talk about and bring through the We Consciousness, but she wrote a book called The We Consciousness, which I had never heard of or been exposed to. And my mind is really blown because this is how spirit works. They will conspire to put things together to give you pieces of information so that your experiences are confirmed with synchronicities and signs because they validate them. So I always say, your signs and synchronicities validate my signs and synchronicities.
Exactly. And how you found me was through Jacob, who had a near-death experience.
It was on my channel. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think you do a ton of these interviews. You have your own channel right now and you do your own things and you're not doing medium readings anymore. So it's just even miraculous that we came through and came together today.
Absolutely. Well, as for the hiatus, I'm on hiatus starting in January because I've been booked for 2 years ahead of time for 25 years. So I'm still honoring those appointments up until January, and then I'm not taking any new ones to promote peace and love on the planet right now. It's really
I
important.
love that. Okay,
Spread the
so
message of the we guides.
I love this. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about these signs and synchronicities. And what I would like to ask about the Wayne Dyer readings, if you remember, it's hard. The more public somebody is, the harder it must be for the family to get confirmations because
Simply.
they're looking for something that nobody else
Yes.
would know. So, Karen, you're
Absolutely.
nodding your head. We're on
Absolutely.
single screen right now, so they can't
Yes.
see you nodding your head. What
Yes.
in the world did you tell them that
Well,
nobody else knew?
what was extremely important, some of them were very private messages that only they would know. You couldn't Google these types of things, but I can share you what Serena was sharing. Serena, Sage, and myself were actually doing classes together. We had master classes together talking about all of this. What they shared was the first time we met. So when they came in, if you may not know that when you see me now, but I'm very shy. And when they came, I wanted to make sure I'm making a good impression and all this, very quiet. And they walk in and I'm saying, oh, hello, and all of a sudden they went to the bathroom the first thing. And Wayne is saying to tell them to hurry up. I said, no. And he's saying, tell them, hurry up now. I'm like, I'm like, I'm really sorry, but your dad is saying, hurry up, hurry. And all of a sudden, like Wayne came over me, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So they came down, they came out, and they're all sitting around, and he spoke to each of them differently, just as he did when he was here in the physical plane. So he spoke to Sky very softly. To Serena, he was very forceful, and so on. And he talked like that. With Serena, what she shared, she had just had a baby, just I think a month or so before that. But Wayne said that she was pregnant. And she said, I'm not pregnant. And I said, I'm just saying what he's saying. And she had a flat belly and all this. I'm like, I'm just saying what he's saying. He's showing me fireworks. I don't know what it means. Fireworks, fireworks. And so she went home. Everything Wayne said during that appointment made sense. They said for him to mention this, 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 and this. And he mentioned this, 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 and this in the meeting. When she went home, she said, but I'm not pregnant. I don't know what my father was saying, if it was really him. She took a pregnancy test. And remember, he said fireworks. She indeed was in the family way, due on the 4th of July. So let me share a couple of others that even blew me away, that I can share. A lot of them, like I said, were personal. 6:00 in the morning, he's saying, now he has 8 children, and one is from a previous marriage. Her name is Tracy, a child. And 6:00 in the morning, he says, call Tracy now. Okay. So I'm saying, no, I'm not going to call her now. It's 6:00 in the morning. Call her now. And I'm like, oh boy. So I text Tracy. I said, Tracy, can I call you? Your dad is telling me to call you. Immediately, she responded, yes, exclamation, exclamation. So I call her and I said, before you say anything, this is what your dad is saying. Yes, he can hear you, but you cannot hear him. I said, what does that mean? She starts crying. She said she just had a dream. And in the dream, her dad was there. And her dad was saying, she was screaming at her dad. And she said, Dad, can't you hear me? Can't you hear me? And the message was from me, yes, I can hear you, but you can't hear me. Exactly at the time, right after the dream. Two other ones that I'd like to share, and then we can move on. I know time is ticking away, but
Oh, I'd stop. Like
I, I love
like
it, right?
riveted to these
I get so
stories. I
excited.
love this.
Yes. Another time, he also had a son, Sans, and we were in contact right after he passed, but had not been a year later, we hadn't been in contact with each other. Meanwhile, I was on speed dial with Sage and Serena and Marceline and all of them, and Summer, who has now passed, but I was on speed dial with them. And one day I went to the bank and I came back and an email from Sans that was written to me a year earlier just appeared on my screen. I'm like, what the heck? I guess Wayne wants me to call him now, or I'm not sure what this is about. So I call him. I said, since this is what happened, I texted him and he called me. He said he was on a plane. He was going to move from Florida to Maui, where their dad used to live. And he asked his dad, is he making the right move? And just as he was asking his dad if he was making the right move, this appears on my screen. I have to call him. I call him and I said, the message is live your dreams. And he said, my dad said that all the time. But the exact time he was asking his dad, he did this I don't know how he does this. He puts the email on my screen and so forth. I'll share one more. One more. So Serena, she's due on the 4th of July, but it's not 4th of July. It's like, I don't know, a couple of days before. She didn't post anything on Facebook. Wayne tells me, it comes through as thoughts. This is how our deceased loved ones come to you. Now, Wayne was loud in life. He's still loud. When he comes through, it's this way, like, do this now. So he says, call Serena now. Okay, I'll call her now. I'll call her now. And, oh, you know what? I was making dinner. I'm like, can't I just wait? No, call her now. Call her now. So I'm calling her. She's not answering the phone. So I decided to call Sage, because they always hang out together. I said, Sage, what's going on? Your dad is telling me to call you. Something very significant at this very moment. Is something very important happening at this very moment? She said, oh, yeah. We're all in the delivery room. We're all, Serena's ready to give birth. I said, could you put the phone near her, her ear? And she said, yeah, I'm right here. So she gives the phone to Serena and Wayne says, Daddy's here. Daddy's here. And she closes her legs. She goes, no, not right now. But anyway, Wayne was witnessing the birth of the baby. So this was going on for 3 years, very specific messages. Serena was going through a lot of trauma in her family, in her immediate family, and so forth. And when things were happening, he'd say to call her, and he always gave a message, that type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Incredible. I love it. Those were really wonderful.
yeah,
So we talked about dreams a little bit and you've mentioned a couple of them. It doesn't have to be related to Wayne, but you want to share some dreams because this is, I
yes,
think, the easiest way for spirits to communicate with people, especially right after they've died. And
yeah,
they will more likely come through in a dream, even if they don't say anything, just to show you that they're okay. And
yes,
so I would love for you to share your thoughts on that.
yes. So first of all, I would tell our listeners to ask their loved ones and the angels to come to them in a dream, but to wake them up after the dream so you remember it. Because a lot of times our loved ones come to us in a dream, but we don't wake up and they don't remember it. So I know a few minutes ago I said that our loved ones don't necessarily come to us as a voice, right? But after my mom passed, and I'll explain why I'm sharing this because it's about a dream. I said to my mom, I really would love to hear your voice one more time. I really need to hear your voice one more time. So, anyway, that day I was very tired. After work, I decided to take a nap right away. And I took a nap and I had a dream, but it wasn't a dream. It was a real visitation. And you know the difference in a real visitation. Your loved ones are healthy, they're young again if they were old. You just know, you feel like you've won the lottery in this type of dream, right? Um, Whereas a dream from your subconscious may be scary, something you want to resolve about your loved one. It may be scary how they pass, they're coming in a casket. That's not them. When they come through, it feels like you've won the lottery. So I asked my mom, I'd love to hear her voice one more time. And I took a nap and I had a profound dream. And in the dream, I knew it was my mom. I walked into a crowded room and my mother's voice comes over the loudspeaker and she says, I have an important announcement. I have an important announcement. I am okay and I love you. And in the dream, I knew it was really my mother. And I said, "Oh my God, Ma, thank you so much for coming to me in this dream. Who are you with?" And then she said something that I didn't recognize. And I said, "Could you say that again? I didn't understand what you said." And then she said, "Nanny," who's her mom. With that, the phone rang, woke me up. I was able to recall the dream, and I felt like I won the lottery. So, in these types of dreams, you know that you really have had a visitation from your loved one.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that people say about those dreams, because I've had them too, is that unlike a normal dream that fades over time and you forget it, they stay very sharp with the details and you can recall it pretty much exactly like you as if you had just woken up and had it.
Absolutely. Last night, I had one of a loved one, my boyfriend's grandmother, who oh, it was tough to cry, who raised him. I can't explain it, but, she came in the dream, and she was speaking to me telepathically, a lot of personal things, again, I don't wanna share, but, what she said I was making her pastina because she couldn't chew, she couldn't digest, and so forth, and in the dream, I'm making her pastina. So you'd say, "That's not really a profound dream," but she was giving me this information. When I woke up, it was like I felt a piece of heaven, what heaven is like. I just felt it. She kind of brought me there to this complete love. Kind of what we were talking about before the show, that this life here is just pretend. And where she is now, where heaven is within us. And it's only love, it's only peace, and it's this profound knowing. But I've gone through this whole day feeling this incredible peace. So I thank her. Her name is Arlene. And I had this dream last night.
Oh, how special. That's amazing. I'm
Yes.
glad you shared that with everybody. For people who are watching, I know people get frustrated sometimes when they cannot seem to connect with their loved ones. They're not getting them in the dream. They're
Mhm.
not getting the signs and synchronicities like we're talking about with music and electronics and animal messengers, and they feel slighted. They feel less than. They feel sad and depressed about that. What do you
Mhm.
tell people who are going through that part?
Oftentimes that happens when somebody is grieving because their energies, of course, rightfully so, they're grieving. So their energy is here. Your loved one's energy is here. So it's hard to be on, as we talked about, the same wavelength as your loved one. So that's when oftentimes a grieving person will hear from a friend of a friend of a friend who've had a dream of that loved one. And the grieving person is saying, "Why did they have a dream and I did not?" That's why, because you have to kind of raise your energy to be more on par with the energy of your loved one and so forth. I think the signs often work with those who are not getting any messages and so forth. I would say to ask your loved one to give you a without a doubt sign, to let it literally, like, you'll know without a doubt, a car will cut you off and it'll be the person's name, or the song will come on at the perfect time, that type of thing. If that's not happening, notice the thoughts that are just popping in your mind for no reason, because they're speaking to you telepathically. You may be thinking that you are just thinking of your loved one, whereas they're speaking to you telepathically.
Right.
Right? So how do you tell the difference between your thoughts and their thoughts? Again, it's your thoughts will have an originating thought. You'll see a picture of grandma that'll trigger a thought, that'll trigger another thought. That's you. But if you're driving, after my mom passed, I was driving and it's not an audible voice, but a thought, "Hi, sweetheart." That's not me. I don't call myself sweetheart. She called me sweetheart. I knew it was her. So be aware of the thoughts that just pop into your head for no reason. Ask for the without a doubt signs. Ask them to come to you in a dream, but be patient and wait. And ask them to wake you up after the dream so you remember it. They're with you.
That
They want to connect with you as much as you want to connect with them.
That's so great. Thank you for saying that. You just confirmed something that I wrote in my book, Science Around You, a long time ago, and it's about the originating thought. That's exactly how I've described it as well.
I love it.
It's amazing.
We're
We've had so many
connected.
synchronicities, the two of us today.
When we were talking before the show, I said, "Oh my gosh, tell me more, tell me more."
I know, I feel the same, like, how much could I pull out of you? Okay, so now let's say that people have this idea that maybe the reason that their passed away loved one isn't communicating and giving them signs is because they've moved on, they've gone back to have a new life, and they're no longer in the form that they were known to be in when they were in this life. What would you say about that? What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, there are different ways of thinking about that. I can only give you my way. I know a lot of people have said, mediums, and other than myself, they said, if you reincarnated and so forth, you could still come through. I can only tell you from my experience. And it's not a scientific proof of what I heard. There was one of my readings, a woman was in my office and her father was coming through with very specific messages. And all of a sudden, he said something. He said, "Leave ladder." And all of a sudden, he left. And I didn't know what happened. And she didn't know what happened. Everything else made sense. The next day, she calls me. She says, "Oh my gosh, I have something to tell you." She said, "The time of our reading, my sister fell off a ladder." So I said, "Oh, then your father left to be with your sister." So in my train of thought, I'm saying, okay, he couldn't be in more than one place at one time. But that's not scientific proof, you know? But I'm thinking if somebody reincarnates, maybe that's why they can't come back. It could be, but I can't tell you for sure, or maybe they're gallivanting. They're not always with you. They gallivant. When I say gallivant, can you imagine leaving your physical body and you see this vast universe? This earth is just a speck. There's so many planets and galaxies out there to explore, so they could be doing that as well.
So, Karen, how many readings do you think you've done over time?
I can't even. I've been doing it 25 years. I've been booked, like I said,
Thousands.
thousands. Yeah.
Thousands. Okay, thousands. So, what I'd love for you to share with everybody is some truths you know to be true for sure based on what you've experienced.
I love your questions because you understand. Because you've been through this. So your questions are profound. I know without a doubt that this life is not all there is. I know that this body is just a shell. It's just the wrapping paper. It's not something I believe or think. It's something I know without a doubt. With all this confirmation, also those who've had near-death experiences, they talk about the same thing. I know without a doubt. I know without a doubt that we're peace and love. And I know without a doubt when we stray from that, God is still within us. God is within all of us, by the way. You could say source, you could say creator, you could say whatever you want. We're all part of that energy. I know without a doubt that we could create amazing miracles in our life if we reclaim the power within us. Not just certain people, all of us can create miracles. I know without a doubt that our thoughts create our reality. So if we focus on what we don't want, we create what we don't want because our thoughts are like magnets, bring more of that to ourselves. So focus on solutions, focus on what we want rather than what we don't want. I have a wonderful story about forgiving. And can I share a story? It's really good.
1,000,000% yes.
One of my clients, her name was Sue. She was going through a very difficult divorce right after I experienced the light. So she came to me right after that. And she came in for healings and not messages, but for healing. We did Reiki and healing. And she really hated her soon to be ex husband. And I noticed, and she made appointments. She was one of those that kept coming back for healing. And I noticed when she came in to see me that her hands started to become fists and she couldn't open her hands after a while. She kept talking about her soon to be ex husband, and they kept forming into fists and she couldn't open her hands. So she went to the doctor and she got a diagnosis of multiple myeloma. I was sharing this for a reason. He said for her stage 3 to get her act together, her affairs together, and so forth. And she came back to see me. I said, "You do whatever the doctor tells you." I didn't want to get in trouble. "You do whatever the doctor tells you. But in addition to this, we're going to work on forgiveness. We're going to work on your thoughts. Your thoughts create your reality. Focus on she loved to pray. I said, focus on praying, focus on forgiveness, and so forth. She had affirmations. She worked on that and so forth. And every time she came to see me, I noticed her hands started opening more and more and more and more. And one particular point, we were talking about Reiki. She wanted to get attuned to Reiki symbols. This is all she had left, the middle finger. I'm not going to show it on the. And I said, oh, so I think you're holding something, holding on to something. And we worked past that, and then her hands were completely open. She ended up to be in remission for 20 years. She came to see me 2 years ago, completely healed. The doctors were baffled. They said, oh, whatever, this is wonderful. But they didn't attribute forgiveness and thoughts and all of that. To me, I knew what was happening. She did everything they said, but she worked on the mind, body and spirit, never just the body. So 2 years ago, she came back, talked about her ex-husband and some other family member is very upset with them. Angry, 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 angry. And she started to hunch over. She had a hump on her back. I said, Sue, you're going through this again. Let's work on loving and positive feeling. And she goes, I really don't want to. And she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. She didn't want to work. She didn't want to forgive. And because I said, you did this before and you healed. She goes, I don't want to. I want to go home. And she passed. Power of forgiveness, power of our thoughts, all of that. That's what I know without a doubt. And if you want to go home, it's not bad because home is beautiful. Let me tell
Let's
you.
talk about home. What did you know from talking to spirits about the other side? What is the other side? What is it?
It's hard to explain because there are no words to explain it. Mostly everybody talks about the colors that they see. They talk about the complete, seeing through each person's eyes as if they are the other person because the oneness. Total love, total peace, being wherever they desire to be in an instant. They want to be on the moon, they are there. With a thought, they're there. Being with their loved ones. It's all, that's heaven. Heaven wouldn't be heaven without being with their loved ones and so forth.
And who goes to heaven? Who
Who
goes?
goes to, we all do.
We all do.
We all do. But we have to understand, and then we go through that life review. It's not like in eternity you're suffering in hell because of what you did, but you feel how you've affected other people. So say you hit somebody over the head with a hammer. Oh, you feel how that hurt that person. You feel it in an instant.
Absolutely. Well,
Right.
I would imagine that people who are watching want to connect with you. And I know you're not doing readings, but you do have books that you've written. So tell us about your books that you've
Yes.
written.
I've written books. I do travel. I teach at Omega, at Kripalu, and all over the country. And I'm doing a new masterclass with the Dyers next year for Humanities team. And so forth. And if you go to my website, it's KarenNoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. And you'll find all this information. And my books are Through the Eyes of Another, We Consciousness, Your Life After Their Death, The Rainbow Follows the Storm. I have the Oracle cards, the Angel Quest cards. And
Well, Karen, I am so grateful to Jacob for connecting us.
me,
I feel so lucky to be able to have a conversation with somebody like you. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with what you've learned from the other side with the audience today and what you are doing to help wake up the collective because it is so needed right now.
thank you so much. And thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you. And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch, to listen, and to share these amazing experiences. So thank you, everybody, for watching.
Do you believe that love never dies and you want to hear stories that prove it? Well, hit the subscribe button. You belong here.